5 rare vibrations that only 1% of chosen ones possess. There are forces in this world that move beyond what we can see, touch, or measure. They hume beneath the surface of reality, shaping destinies, bending reality, and unlocking doors that remain shut for the ordinary mind. These are vibrations, energetic frequencies that dictate the spiritual weight of a person's existence. Among them there exist 5 rare vibrations that only the chosen few possess. These are not just traits nor mere habits. They are cosmic alignments, states of being that separate the awakened from the asleep, the enlightened from the lost. If you are here, if you are listening to this, there is a reason. Something within you resonates with these words, and that alone is a sign that you are on the path of the chosen. But the question is, will you recognize these vibrations within yourself? Will you awaken to the truth that has been calling you all along? The first vibration is the frequency of divine detachment, a state of being where nothing external holds power over you. Most people are prisoners, not in a literal sense, but in a deeper, more insidious way. They are shackled by opinions, by fears, by desires that are not their own. They live in constant reaction, tossed around by the winds of circumstance, enslaved by attachments to things that are fleeting. But the chosen ones vibrate at a frequency of detachment. They walk through life as if they are merely visiting, engaging with the world but never being owned by it. This does not mean they are indifferent or cold.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Quite the opposite. They love deeply, they feel profoundly, but they do so with the understanding that everything is temporary. They do not beg for permanence in a world where everything is in motion. They do not suffer when things end, because they already knew that nothing was ever truly theirs to keep. Ask yourself, how much of your suffering comes from the illusion of ownership? How many of your fears are rooted in the idea that you might lose something that was never truly yours to begin with? When you vibrate at the frequency of divine detachment, you become untouchable. Nothing can break you because you have already let go. The second rare vibration is the pulse of silent knowing. The world is noisy. Everyone speaks, but few listen. Everyone claims to know, but their knowledge is borrowed second-hand, regurgitated from books, teachers, or society. The chosen ones do not speak unless necessary. They do not seek validation through words. Instead, they operate from a place of silent knowing. This is not arrogance. It is not about thinking you are better than others. It is about understanding that true knowledge does not need to be announced. When you truly know something, when you have experienced truth firsthand, there is no need to convince anyone. This is why the greatest spiritual masters rarely argue or debate. They simply exist in their truth, and their presence alone is enough to shift the energy of a room. There is an ancient saying, "A lion does not need to prove that it is a lion." The chosen ones embody this. They do not need to shout their wisdom because their very being radiates it. But here is the paradox. How do you know if what you know is true? How do you differentiate between the illusions of the mind and the wisdom of the soul? The answer lies in stillness. The mind is loud, but the soul whispers. The chosen ones have mastered the art of listening to the whisper, of trusting the feeling that resides beyond logic. The third vibration is the rhythm of unshakable presence. Most people are never truly here. Their bodies exist in one place, but their minds are elsewhere, trapped in memories, lost in the future, consumed by worries that do not exist anywhere except within their own heads. Life slips through their fingers like sand, and they wake up one day wondering where all the time went. But the chosen ones move differently. They possess a presence so powerful that when they step into a room, the energy shifts. They are fully here, fully awake, fully alive in every moment. They speak less, but say more. They do less, but achieve more. Because their energy is concentrated, not scattered. When they listen with their whole being. When they act with absolute certainty. This is a rare vibration because it requires mastery over the self. It requires training the mind to stop running away, to stop seeking distractions, to stop avoiding the now. It is easy to exist in the past or the future. It takes no effort. But to be fully present, that is power. That is what separates the chosen from the lost. So ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly here? Not thinking about what you need to do next, not replaying something from yesterday, but fully immersed in the now. Presence is a gateway to power. The more present you are, the more life bends in your favor. The fourth vibration is the echo of fearless surrender. Everyone wants control. They grip onto life with white-knuckle desperation, trying to force things to go their way. But control is an illusion. The chosen ones understand this at the deepest level. Instead of resisting life, they flow with it. Instead of forcing outcomes, they surrender to the divine intelligence that orchestrates everything. This does not mean they are passive or lazy. It means they move with trust. They take action, but they do not obsess over results. They pursue, but they do not chase. They understand that sometimes the best thing you can do is let go. The universe is far more intelligent than the human mind. It sees the full picture when we can only see fragments. And so the chosen ones surrender, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. They know that life is not something to be controlled, but something to be danced with. Imagine how different your life would be if you moved with this kind of trust. How much suffering could you release if you stopped resisting what is? Ask yourself, what are you holding on to that you need to let go of? What are you afraid will happen if you surrender? The irony is, the more you let go, the more life flows in your favor. And finally, the rarest vibration of all, the song of infinite creation. Most people live in a state of consumption. They take in information, they absorb entertainment, they follow trends, they react to what already exists. But the chosen ones are creators. They do not simply observe reality, they shape it. They understand that to create is to align with the divine. Whether through art, words, actions, or even thoughts, they bring something new into existence. They do not wait for permission. They do not ask if they are qualified. They simply create because that is what they were born to do. The universe itself is a creation, and when you create, you align with the essence of existence. This is why the greatest minds, the most influential beings in history, all shared this trait. They were creators. They brought forth ideas, visions, movements. They did not wait for someone else to do it. They understood that the power to shape reality was in their hands. So ask yourself, are you merely consuming life, or are you creating it? What have you brought into existence that did not exist before? Each of these 5 vibrations is rare. Together they form the signature frequency of the chosen ones. If you recognize them within yourself, know this: you are not ordinary. You are not here to simply exist. You are here to move differently, to see what others cannot see, to walk a path that few will ever understand. But recognition is only the beginning. The real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The hidden cost of awakening, why most will never reach these vibrations. Awakening is not free. It is not something that simply happens because you wish for it or because you read about it. There is a price, and it is one that most are unwilling to pay. This is why only 1% of people will ever truly reach these rare vibrations. The journey to higher consciousness is not lined with comfort, nor is it filled with applause. It is a path of destruction before rebirth, of isolation before connection, of loss before gain. To vibrate at these frequencies is to strip away everything you thought you were, and that is terrifying. The majority will never reach this state because they are unwilling to let go of their illusions, their masks, their attachments. They want enlightenment without sacrifice, wisdom without suffering, transformation without death. But the universe does not work that way. The first cost of awakening is loneliness. When you begin to vibrate at a higher frequency, you will notice something strange. People around you will start to fade away. Friends you once resonated with will feel distant. Conversations that once excited you will feel empty. You will sit in rooms full of people and feel like an outsider. This is not because you are better than them, but because you are different now. Your energy has shifted, and not everyone will be able to match it. Many will misunderstand you, some will resent you, others will try to pull you back into the familiar, into the old version of yourself that they were comfortable with. And here lies the test. Will you dim your light just to fit in, or will you embrace the solitude that comes with growth? Most people choose the former. They shrink themselves, they silence their truth, they pretend to be who they were just to avoid the pain of isolation, and in doing so they trade their awakening for acceptance. But the chosen ones walk alone if necessary. They understand that solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. The universe is clearing space, removing distractions, making room for something greater. The second cost is the death of the ego. The ego is a fragile, desperate thing. It clings to identity, to status, to the need to be right, to the desire for control. It thrives in comparison, in validation, in external approval. But the rare vibrations do not exist within the realm of the ego. They require a deeper surrender, a willingness to dismantle everything you thought you knew about yourself. This is terrifying because the ego convinces you that without it, you are nothing. And so most people resist. They hold on to their identities, their titles, their roles in society. They are unwilling to dissolve because they fear they will disappear. But the truth is, the moment you let go, the moment you allow yourself to die in this way, you are finally free. This is why enlightenment is often described as a kind of death. Not a physical one, but a death of illusion. You realize you are not your thoughts, not your achievements, not your failures. You are something far greater, something infinite. But this realization only comes to those who are brave enough to let go. The third cost is the destruction of comfort. Awakening shakes the very foundation of your life. It does not allow you to remain in places, relationships, or mindsets that no longer serve you. It forces you to confront everything you have been avoiding. The job that drains your soul, the relationship that keeps you small, the habits that numb your spirit. Awakening demands that you release them. And this is where most people stop. They want growth, but they do not want change. They want to vibrate higher, but they do not want to leave behind the familiar. They want to be chosen, but they do not want to choose themselves. And so they stay stuck, repeating the same cycles, convincing themselves that they are trying, when in reality, they are just afraid. But the chosen ones understand that destruction is part of creation, that in order to step into the new, the old must be burned away. And so they let go, even when it is painful, even when it makes no sense, even when it feels like they are losing everything, because they know that what is coming is greater than what is gone. The fourth cost is the burden of awareness. When you vibrate at these rare frequencies, you see things that others do not. You see the illusions, the conditioning, the unconscious patterns that rule the world. You watch as people chase things that do not matter, destroy themselves for approval, live lives that are not their own, and you cannot unsee it. This can be exhausting. There will be moments when you wish you could go back, when you long for the ignorance that once shielded you, but you cannot. Once you awaken, there is no return, and so you must learn to carry this awareness with grace. You must learn to move through a world that is asleep without being consumed by it. This is why many enlightened beings retreat from society, not because they do not care, but because the weight of awareness can be overwhelming. But the chosen ones do not run. They learn to walk between worlds, to exist in the chaos without losing themselves. They learn to be the light in the darkness, even when the darkness does not understand them. And the final cost is responsibility. Awakening is not just about personal growth. It is about what you do with that growth. The universe does not elevate you for your own sake. It does so because you have a role to play. Your energy, your wisdom, your presence is meant to shift something, to awaken others, to create ripples that extend far beyond yourself. But this requires action. It requires courage. It requires stepping into the unknown, speaking truths that may not be welcomed, standing firm when the world tries to shake you. Most people do not want this responsibility. They want the power without the weight, the wisdom without the duty. But the chosen ones accept it. They understand that to be gifted with rare vibrations is not a privilege. It is a mission. This is why most will never reach these vibrations, not because they are incapable, but because they are unwilling. The path is open to all, but few will walk it. The question is, will you? The unseen forces that test the chosen, why every awakening comes with resistance. The moment you begin to awaken, the moment you start vibrating at a frequency higher than the world around you, something strange happens. Everything starts pushing back. This is not coincidence. It is not random. There are forces, both seen and unseen, that do not want you to rise. These forces exist in the form of people, in the form of circumstances, and even within your own mind. They exist because the world thrives on unconsciousness. Society, culture, the systems in place, they are built on the assumption that people will remain asleep, that they will follow, that they will conform. When you begin to break free from this, when you start choosing awareness over illusion, you disrupt the entire structure, and the structure will fight back. The first attack comes from the external world. You will notice that as you elevate, certain people in your life will react negatively. Some will question you, mock you, or try to pull you back into the old patterns you are leaving behind. This is not always malicious, Sometimes it is fear. When you change, it forces others to confront the fact that they are not changing, and that is uncomfortable. Your growth becomes a mirror, reflecting their stagnation, and rather than face that truth, they will try to pull you down. They will tell you that you are overthinking, that you are being unrealistic, that you are chasing something that does not exist. They will remind you of who you used to be, hoping to keep you trapped in that version of yourself. This is not personal. It is simply how the unconscious mind reacts to disruption. Most people fear change, even when the change is good. The question is, will you allow their fear to become your limitation? But the greatest resistance does not come from the outside, it comes from within. Your own mind will become your battlefield. The ego does not want to dissolve. It does not want to surrender to something greater, and so it will fight. It will flood you with doubt, with fear, with the temptation to return to the familiar. It will whisper that you are not ready, that you are not worthy, that you are imagining everything. The mind is a master of deception, and if you are not aware, it will convince you to abandon your path before you have even begun. This is why so many people start the journey of awakening but never finish it. They get lost in the resistance, in the endless loops of self-doubt, in the fear of what they might become if they continue. But the chosen ones push through. They understand that the mind is not to be trusted blindly. They see their thoughts for what they are, passing clouds, not absolute truths. They learn to detach from the inner noise, to move forward even when fear grips them, to trust the path even when they cannot see the destination. And then there are the deeper forces, the unseen ones, call them what you will, spiritual resistance, lower energies, the weight of the collective unconscious. Whatever name you give them, they are real. The moment you begin to wake up, the moment you start vibrating at a frequency beyond the ordinary, you attract attention. Not all of it is benevolent. There are forces that feed off unconsciousness, that thrive in fear, that benefit from keeping souls trapped in low vibrations. These forces do not attack in obvious ways. They do not appear as monsters or shadows in the night. They manifest as distractions, as temptations, as sudden waves of exhaustion that make you question everything. They manifest as unexpected chaos in your life, as situations that seem designed to break you, as people who suddenly turn against you for no logical reason. They manifest in ways that make you wonder if you are on the wrong path, if you should turn back, if awakening was ever worth it. But here is the truth. If you are facing resistance, it means you are on the right path. The darkness does not waste energy on those who are asleep. It only fights those who are waking up. This is why every enlightened being, every spiritual master, every chosen one in history has spoken of the trials, the hardships, the battles that come with awakening. It is not a smooth road. It is not meant to be. You are shifting energies, breaking chains, dissolving illusions that have existed for lifetimes. Of course, there will be resistance. That is the test. The question is, will you break or will you rise? The chosen ones understand that resistance is not a sign to stop, it is a sign to keep going. They do not crumble when things become difficult. They do not let doubt dictate their path. They recognize the patterns, they see the invisible warfare for what it is, and they move forward anyway. They do not fight the resistance, they transcend it. They do not get lost in fear, they observe it, acknowledge it, and walk through it. They know that beyond the resistance lies something greater, something that most will never reach because they turn back too soon. And so, if you find yourself facing opposition, if you feel like everything is trying to pull you back into the old version of yourself, know this: you are close. The breakthrough is near. The test is temporary. What is on the other side is unimaginable, but only if you refuse to stop. The final transformation, becoming the living embodiment of rare vibrations. There comes a moment when the struggle ends, when the resistance fades, when the illusions no longer hold power over you. It is not that the world changes, but that you have changed. What once disturbed you now feels insignificant. What once triggered you now feels like a whisper in the wind. What once felt impossible now flows effortlessly through you. This is the final transformation, the moment you no longer just seek rare vibrations, but become the living embodiment of them. This is the point where you stop searching for something outside of yourself and realize that you have been the source all along. The chosen ones do not just possess these vibrations, they are these vibrations. And when you reach this state, everything shifts. You no longer chase, you attract. The energy you emit bends reality around you. People, opportunities, synchronicities, they come to you as if drawn by an invisible force. But this is not luck, it is alignment. When you vibrate at the highest frequencies, the universe mirrors that energy back to you. Struggle disappears not because life is easy, but because you no longer resist the flow. You move with divine timing, trusting every rise and fall, knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. There is no longer fear, no longer doubt, only deep, unshakable knowing. You no longer seek validation, you radiate truth. Most people live for approval, bending themselves to fit expectations, silencing their truth to avoid discomfort. But the chosen ones move differently. They do not ask for permission, they do not shrink themselves to make others comfortable. They walk in their truth so powerfully that it speaks louder than words ever could. And this truth, this authenticity, is what makes them magnetic. People may not always understand them, but they cannot ignore them. Their presence alone is enough to shift the atmosphere, to awaken something dormant in those around them. They do not convince, they simply are. You no longer fear loss, you embrace impermanence. The ordinary mind clings. It holds on to people, possessions, identities, fearing that to lose is to suffer. But the awakened mind understands that nothing is truly lost, only transformed. Everything is energy, constantly shifting, constantly evolving. Attachment is the root of suffering, and freedom comes when you release the need to own anything. Love without possession, experience without attachment. Move through life with open hands, not clenched fists. This is the way of the chosen. They do not mourn endings, for they know every ending is a beginning in disguise. They do not resist change, for they understand that transformation is the nature of existence itself. You no longer react, you create. Most people are in a constant state of reaction, controlled by external forces, swayed by circumstances. But the chosen ones have reclaimed their power. They do not react to the world, they shape it. They do not wait for the right conditions, they create them. Every thought, every action, every intention is infused with purpose. They understand that reality is not fixed, that it bends to the will of those who know how to wield their energy. They are not victims of life, they are architects of it. They move with the certainty of those who know they are here for something greater, something beyond the ordinary existence most people settle for. And then, the final shift, You no longer seek the path, you become the path. There is no longer a need to search, to question, to doubt. The journey and the destination become the same. You realize that enlightenment was never something to be reached, but something to be lived, moment by moment. The vibrations you once sought are no longer concepts. They are you. You walk differently, speak differently, move differently, not because you are trying to, but because it is simply who you have become. And in this becoming, you fulfill the purpose of the chosen, to awaken not just for yourself, but for the world. Because the truth is, this path was never just about you. It was never just about your awakening, your power, your transformation. It was always about what you would do with it. The chosen ones are not here to ascend alone. They are here to light the way for others, to shift the collective, to leave the world different than they found it. And so the final question is not whether you will reach these vibrations, but what you will do once you have. Because now you are no longer just an observer, you are a force, and the world is waiting.